Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Virtues Campus follow-up interest meeting uh, from last week, continuation with the launch of the India Virtues Campus movement and the growing network of leaders that are involved. We've had over 60 people so far in the WhatsApp group and 70 people participating last week in the launch that was live and broadcasted via YouTube. And so today, Dr. David is going to break down the US model in detail, sharing our pitch deck, the presentation we use when we share it with investors and people that are potential Virtues Campus pastors or administrators or regional launch catalysts that would like to oversee and help spread the Virtues Campus in their region. So I'm going to bring that slide up. And as soon as Dr. David's ready, he can start going through this with everyone.
All right, very good. Thank you, Zachary. Um, I was so encouraged by the response of after last week's session, and thank you for carving out again this time to be with us. I realize that maybe some of you, many of you, are familiar with the Virtues Campus as a result of being with us last week and perhaps hearing it in other contexts as well. But I also realize there may be those who were not with us last week, so this is rather a new concept. And I want to keep in mind then both those who know a little bit more about it and those who do not. And so I'm thinking about that as I come to my content, my comments. Before we get to the actual pitch deck, I want to give a little more context, which I think always is very, very helpful. A big picture, historical background for the development of the Virtues Campus. The model that I'm about to show you again in detail has grown out of Vishal Mangalwadi's vision for church-based colleges as he first fleshed out that vision in Appendix 3 of his book, Truth and Transformation. It's a vision of local churches becoming educational centers of their communities. It's a vision, a strategy for the church to take back education from the secular university to the original space God meant for it, and that is the family and the church. The Virtues Campus model is an attempt to begin to put that vision into practice. I like to say that it is where the jumbo jet of the third education revolution touches the tarmac, where the vision becomes concrete and where the vision is implemented. Again, a little bit more history. In 2014, a few of us in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, in the United States, asked Vishal Mangalwadi to come and spend a summer with us. We had just read about Appendix 3. We're wondering if we could possibly implement that starting in the United States. He came and spent 10 weeks with us, along with Ashish Alexander. And during that 10 weeks, during the summer, we just really questioned him and probed him and kind of picked his brain as to how this model that he wrote about could be implemented. At the end of that summer, we had a founders meeting, and we decided to take the next step and to form a board. We came up with our name, the Virtues Campus. And then at the end of that year, I stepped aside from being pastor of a two-point congregation and devoted myself fully to developing the model, thinking that perhaps I was the one that was to take the model forward. So the next year or two, we worked on developing the Virtues Campus model. During that time, we refined it. We worked with Partner University. We developed curriculum. I became the first academic pastor for 2 years because I wanted to know the inside workings of the model so that I knew what it meant to be and what it took to be an academic pastor and the model. After me, I found someone else to be the academic pastor, and I continued to develop working with churches and trying to implement this, first of all, of course, in the American context, and now it's spread beyond the American context to other parts of the world. When we started communicating the new approach of higher education, we struggled with how to communicate the new paradigm. It's a bit complex. It's different. It's kind of out of the box. I could talk with someone for 20 minutes and then see the light bulbs go on in their minds, but didn't, it often took 20 minutes, and I didn't always have 20 minutes to talk with people. And what we found in communicating with people so that they could grasp the concept more quickly was to refer to it as Christian period, community period, college period. In other words, what we're talking about is Christian. It's an education rooted in the fear of God, the wisdom of God, God's revelation of himself in the scriptures and in his son, Jesus Christ, how God thinks about things and teaching that to students. So it is Christian, it is community, it is local congregation based, um, and it is college. It's not a Bible school, it's not a seminary. It is looking at all of life through the lens of God's revelation of himself in the scriptures and in Christ. So it is something that looks at the whole of life and all the disciplines of life and puts a biblical worldview around that learning. And that terminology, Christian Community College, resonated with people. And then we could go on to explain it more quickly in a way that they could often comprehend. Now, as we think about implementing the vision, I think there may be 4 steps that we can keep in mind as we go forward. The first is to embrace the vision, the vision that Vishal Mangawati has laid out in his vision for church-based colleges. The second step was the creation of the model. And that's what we developed in the United States. The third then was to implement that model in the American context, which we have been seeking to do. And now we come to the fourth phase, and that is implementing the vision in other nations, specifically, as we're talking here, implementing the vision for India. And so as I share the model with you, my challenge to you is in your minds be translating the model that you're hearing about and thinking through how it can be translated into the India context where you are. What is the issue that we're facing? Again, let me start broad and narrow it down. For 1,000 years in the Western world, education was the domain of the church. Theology was the queen of the sciences. In other words, all of life was looked at through a biblical lens. Law was looked at through a biblical lens, science, medicine, education. Education's natural habitat was the church. But then distortions and corruption crept in over time. And so after igniting the renewal of the church in the Protestant Reformation with the rediscovery of the doctrine of justification by grace through faith, Martin Luther turned to the reforming of the universities. His rediscovery of the doctrine of the priesthood and kingship of all believers birthed modern education, equipping everyone, even the lowliest of women and children, to be able to communicate directly with God by reading the Bible. In the wake, churches in the 16th and 17th centuries began widespread instruction in literacy. Again, in the American context, in early America, 116 of the first 118 colleges and universities were started by church leaders. In other words, the early church in America discipled their nation through these colleges and universities. But again, in time, the church gave over education to the state. And now we face the situation that we are in. And that is that post-secondary education has been outsourced to educational institutions that are no longer accountable to the Christian family or the local faith community. As I mentioned last week, if I send my daughter to the university and she comes back a neo-Marxist, who do we hold accountable? Or if I send my son to the university and he comes back a girl, who do we hold accountable? In other words, we have outsourced our young people, professors who don't believe in truth, and they are discipling our youth. So the challenge and the need before us is this. How do we return governance of education to the space God created for it, that is the family and the church? How do we return the power dynamics back to the client? A proposed solution is the Virtues Campus approach. In other words, establishing local sites as education centers of their communities. You go ahead with the slide, Zach. The Virtues Campus links high schools, homeschool co-ops, and local churches with accredited partner universities, providing students a pathway to a BA degree that eliminates huge college debt. The Virtues Campus mode, or the model, I should say, is this. The Virtues Campus is a champion of local governance of education. Students meet for local in-person classes and take online courses simultaneously. Shadowing the Oxford-Cambridge tutorial model, students earn their degree from the partner university but receive mentorship and tutoring at the local level. We call these mentoring or tutoring persons academic pastors or academic mentors. They mentor the students, teach the students, facilitate their learning, hold them accountable spiritually, morally, and educationally. The purpose of education, we have sought to include the purpose of education into our very name, the Virtues Campus. 2 Peter 1:5 says, "For this very reason, make every effort to supplement your faith with virtue and virtue with knowledge." Virtue in our name communicates our belief that veritas, truth, and virtue character need to be integrated into the competencies of skills and knowledge. There are God-given virtues, justice, mercy, love, courage, honesty, generosity, that must be rediscovered or recovered, I should say, in education and preserved. Education is not just the transmission of knowledge, but the process of learning wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So the Virtues Campus method. The Virtues Campus guides students on their pathway to a four-year college degree, if that is the pathway that they have chosen to be on. Career readiness. Training helps students understand God's design in their life, which gives direction to career choices. The two-year program leads to a AA degree, which is then taken and applied to a BA degree at a four-year university. So how does this work? Students enroll in a local Virtues campus and an accredited partner university at the same time. On the local campus, students take courses that are Christ-centered and couched in a biblical worldview. They take courses in a career readiness track where they learn about themselves. They come to a greater self-understanding of how God has wired them, how God has fashioned them, how God has gifted them. They come to a much better understanding of how God has put them together, because that will give them some real leads as to their vocational calling in life. There is a worldview track where we talk about apologetics. We talk about the different worldviews that are vying for the attention of young people today. We talk about how you apply biblical truth to the various contemporary issues that we face in all of our societies and cultures. There's a track on 2 years of Bible, a deep Old Testament survey and a New Testament survey. And then also we have courses on personal finance, as well as basic life skills. So 6 to 25 students attend classes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on a local campus under trained and qualified academic mentors. We have currently 5 partner universities. We are always wanting to add more, and we'll continue to work on adding more partner universities. But those that we have now are Crown College in St. Bonifacius, Minnesota, William Jessup University, Rockland, California, Waldorf University, Forest City, Iowa, Calvary Chapel University, Sun City, Arizona, and then Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida. So our students then have a choice of the partner university through which they want to get their 60 credits, which equals an AA degree, which might be also the university where they continue beyond the 2 years to the BA degree, or they can take their 60 credits and take it to another university uh, to work on their BA degree if that's the pathway that they're on. Just a word about the business plan. Want to advance it, Zachary? There's dual enrollment I see first of all. Let me talk about that first. Um, there are 2 groups of students that are our target audience. The first is juniors and seniors in high school. The second are high school graduates. When we talk about dual enrollment, we're talking about junior and senior high school students, homeschool students, who earn credits through in-person courses, which then transfer into the partner university and are applied to an AA degree. Online courses count towards high school diploma and an AA degree. And so juniors and seniors in high school, homeschool students, as they become Virtues Campus students, for the 2 years that they're with us, at the end of those 2 years, they gain 60 credits, halfway toward a BA degree, and their high school diploma at the same time. So they're graduating both with an accredited Associate of Arts degree as well as their high school diploma at the same time, which is pretty fantastic when you can end your high school years with already a college degree halfway to a BA degree. The second group are high school graduates. We'll advance that, Zachary. Because I don't have a slide on that. But if a person with a high school diploma comes to us and spends the first 2 years with us, then there you go, high school grads. Students earn an accredited AA degree, 60 credits in 2 years from the partner university. And then Virtue's in-person courses earn credits and transfer into a partner university, 30 credits, 15 credits are earned from the partner university, online courses, and then the additional 15 credits can be earned from the partner university or from other sources. So they spend their 2 years with us. At the end of the 2 years, again, they have their 60 credits gained from the courses they take on the local church context as well as the online courses. Then the business plan. There we go. The college program is designed to be funded through student tuition. Each campus site receives a stipend based on the number of students enrolled on their campus each semester. The campus site then pays the salary of the academic mentor, a part-time assistant as needed, and utility and facility costs. So the main point here is that the college program is funded through the student tuition. That results in a significant cost reduction. Credits are extremely low cost. We can cut down on the overhead. Students don't have to pay resident fees at a brick and mortar university. We get a cost break on all of the credits, both those taught the local site as well as the courses taught online. College credits from partner universities, as I said, are low. What does this do in the long run? It avoids interest payments on college debt. We've had students that come through the first 2 years debt-free because we encourage them to work part-time. At the end of those 2 years, they're halfway to their BA degree, and at that point, they have no college debt. less room and board costs. There are no room and board costs because our students live in the area, they live at home, and they commute to the local site. If you can gain your AA degree at the end of your high school years, you are 2 years ahead of everybody else, and you can get into the workforce 2 years earlier than your peers. Our students can really graduate in 4 years or less. Right now, many universities talk about taking 5 or 6 years to get their BA degree. So there's a reduction in wasted time, and there can be a savings of $20,000 to $60,000 over 4 years. So it's a very, very affordable model, which allows even students of low income backgrounds to be able to get a first class, excellent education. And the last one, again, just the American context. We have a vision of establishing Virtues campuses in hundreds and thousands of churches across America. Breaking that down, there are 3,148 counties in the United States. We would love to establish a Virtues campus in every one of those counties. So the vision of the Virtues campus is to plant a campus in every county in America. And this task, this challenge will require the cooperation of churches, retreat centers, homeschool co-ops, and Bible camps, those who are passionate about educating the next generation in God's truth. Well, I think I'll pause there, and I hope that gives, again, a little bit more of an in-depth understanding of how the model works as we have developed it here in America, in the hopes that also this model can be translated into different nations. We know there will be changes in the model, but we do believe that those core elements of a local site, an academic pastor, a mentor, and a partner university will most likely be the components that are consistent in every cultural context and nation that implements the Virtues Campus model. So thank you.
Okay, any of those that contacted me before the session today and volunteered to help contextualize and take some leadership and uh, help give examples of how you can do this in India, if you would raise your hand so I can make you a co-host, I can identify you, and that way you can share your screen if you want, and that would be great. So you can unmute yourself and let me know that was me. There was at least two of you that said you would be able to do that. So if you are here, please raise your hand and so I can identify you in these Zoom boxes. Not sure if they were able to get on. So if anybody else has any questions for David concerning anything of any clarification on any specific slides, Warren, it'd be great if you could keep your eye on the chat box. And then also if you have anything to say, you are a co-host, so you can chime in. Right now we're open for discussion, so that's the point of this right now, is so we can
There's a
discuss. I
question.
see.
There's a question,
I just
Zachary,
made a co-host of Joshua. You have your hand up.
um, can I say something here?
Yes, go ahead.
So there's a question about the PhD or doctorate in mainstream subjects. Here's what we know. The universities, the partner universities, have their own programs. And I myself live in the city where Southeastern University is, and they have 40 degree programs as undergraduate programs, but they also offer master's and doctorate degrees. So it depends on the institution that the student works with. But yes, there is opportunity and availability to go all the way to doctorate.
Joshua has his hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for making me a co-host. And actually, I asked the question to you, I mean, in the form that actually fees will be a main concern here. And how are we going to, I mean, going to propose about the fee model? Like, I saw the website, I mean, the Virtuous Campus website. Are we going to give this same amount of fees in India? I mean, the same amount of dollars in India, or are we going to consider about uh, trying to translate the fee structure according to Indian context? That will be my number one question. And my number two question, which I am thinking of, is while contextualizing according to Indian context, in majority of the children who are studying in the place where I am, Chennai, most of the government schools and even in the private schools, many learn most of their languages, most of their subjects in their mother tongue, that is Tamil language. Okay, so when they come for when they go for higher education, they suffer actually learning English language. So so will we be able to add English as one of the main subjects? Will we be able to do that, or will we be strictly following the curriculum of the university, uh, which we are in tie-up with? Uh, so how are we going to do that translation as well? So mostly, uh, so these are the kind of questions that immediately come into my mind, and I have noted down certain things which I can ask you step by step if these are answered.
Thank you for the question. Maybe I'll let Warren respond in a few minutes to the language question, but I think your first question had to do with finances, correct? How does the financial plan work in the Indian context? Right now, we are working with that question with a start of a Virtues campus in Bulgaria, and also we're working with a new campus start in Kenya, in Nairobi. Both of those campuses intend to partner with Southeastern University, which is a university in Florida. Southeastern University has an administrative arm for international students called Missio. And we have had many conversations with Missio, and especially they are helpful in many ways, but especially in this question of scaling the cost of an education. In other words, they work with different countries and they adjust the cost per credit of their university according to Bulgaria, Kenya, and India. And I just checked with them this week again, and there is definitely a cost break and a reduction of cost and adjustment of cost for India. So it does make it more affordable for those who are partnering with Southeastern University through their administrative arm at Missio. Having said that, also there are two costs involved here. If we can just keep those in mind, there's the cost of the student toward the partner university. The student pays the partner university directly. We as Virtues Campus don't get in the middle of that. So that's one cost, and there's a reduction. There would be a reduction for students in India. The second cost is on the Virtues Campus side of things. Let me just say this. In America, that comes to $5,000 a year. Having said that, again, we make adjustments for different nations like Bulgaria and other nations. We have to have a certain amount that comes to virtues in order to function. But the other part, let's say there's five, let me use the American context just as a guide, okay? There's $5,000 for the student in America, 1,600 of that comes to Virtues Campus, so we can maintain all that we do on our side. The other $3,400 goes back to the local congregation, the local site, to pay for the academic pastor and any other expenses. But in another context, that 5,000 could be $4,000. And then you make the adjustments. The cost of for the student would be less. And in that context, then it would also reflect upon the cost of the academic pastor. So does that help?
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Warren, do you want to talk about the language, English and other languages?
Sure. This is a very interesting subject to me because I teach English and I teach Spanish and I'm studying Russian. So I'm a language guy. I love languages. But when I've spoken to Southeastern, for example, they told me, no, we can't do any translation. And so there's a difficulty there. There are a couple different, I think it's an area to pray about because we need translation. There are some interesting developments these days with AI to do translation. And, of course, we're thinking about that. We need to look into that. I know that Vishal has spoken about having courses of English in order to teach the Bible and sort of having a Bible-based English course. And so I'm very interested in that. But for a setting like India, you would need so many, teachers and a fully developed curriculum and so on. And you have many. I actually use one Indian woman. Her YouTube teachings in English are great. She calls herself Chetna. She's a great English teacher. I'm sure you have many, but it is just an area I would say that is an area of prayer. We need to pray about how to do this because surely if we don't translate, then we will not be able to, truly promote this in other nations. So we appreciate the question. The only thing I can say to you is that let's keep praying about it and see what can be developed.
Marcia, I noticed that you put a comment in the chat about this very thing about global education. Would you like to comment?
Thank you, Dr. Day, for this. No?
You're breaking up, Marcia. Yeah.
The connection's bad. Maybe if she can type her comment, David
Yeah,
or someone else in the India context could expound.
Now am I audible? Now am I audible? Still bad?
It's a little
Try that.
better.
Still poor?
Yeah, it's good now. Keep speaking.
Okay. So I just wanted to encourage that Virtues Campus would be a blessing to Indian students because it's a global education, right? Like we partner with US universities. So that's a gateway to a global career as well. And definitely students learning through the English medium always find advantage within the country, outside the country. So at least for the graduate level, they should transition to English, and English helps. As far as vernacular is concerned, mother tongue is concerned, we can give some content in Tamil for them to read and understand. But then definitely, I believe that English education helps a lot. And those who have prioritized learning English at a younger age, either through a formal education system or through the homeschooling, it has benefited them very well. So, if we really want Indian Christian young people through the church to be benefited, we have to ensure that they learn English and they learn Virtues Campus content through English. That's one comment that I wanted to make. Yes.
Thank you, Marcia.
David, there is a question about the theological training of an academic mentor. If I may, I would like to answer that, and then you can say whatever more you would
Of course,
like to share. I think
of
it's very
course.
important to understand that Virtues Campus is not at all seeking to be a seminary or Bible school. And this is one of the reasons why some people had problems with the term academic pastor, and we wanted to call them academic mentors. I think it's very important to understand that an academic mentor is a person who guides these folks through academic training. And what we need them to be is a mature Christian who can disciple and guide, a person of character, a person who loves the students, but a person who knows about academics, and so they can help them. So theological training is not necessary. What we need is that they have basic biblical understanding, of course. But you wouldn't have to have a degree in theology. We want you to help academically. So I hope that answers
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Let me just add. Thank you, Warren. Thank you. Just here's the difference between where we are now and where we want to be eventually. There is talk in the third education revolution of developing courses that would train would-be academic pastors more theologically, more biblically. And we hope to develop those courses and to be able to direct potential academic mentors to those classes. But we are not there at this point. And so at this point, we are, as Warren says, we are looking for mature believers, believers who perhaps have a Bachelor of Arts degree, a college degree, who love the students, can build into the lives of the students, can facilitate the classes that are taught in the local site. And those are the kinds of people we are looking for right now until we can develop more training down the road.
So any questions or comments or contextualized wisdom from the group here? Just feel free to unmute yourself and share.
Yeah. Hi, I'm
Hi
Madhumark
everyone,
here.
this is
Yeah.
Sandeep here.
Go ahead, Sandeep.
I was just waiting for Madhu to go ahead. So I kept. Okay, my question is totally well, since Marcia ma'am has said, I totally agree that since it's a higher education, so we need to rely on English because it's going to be a global thing. But at the same time, I would be interested to know the universities that are in collaboration with you, what are the courses that they are offering so that we know when advance we will ahead of time. So what are the kind of students we are looking for? So that will help us in later. Thank you. Was I audible?
It was a little choppy. Can you concisely ask the question one more time or
Yeah,
type it in the chat?
It was
Maybe not
difficult
use
to
your video
understand.
because sometimes that slows the stream down.
Actually, he was asking the question that
Okay, now go ahead.
actually he was asking the
Go
question
ahead,
that
Zachary.
what kind of courses does the university which we are in tie-up provide, so that he will be able to understand. He was asking about what kind of courses those universities provide.
Okay, the question is, what kind of courses do the partner
The partner
universities,
university.
yeah, the
Yes,
partner
yes, the partner.
universities, yeah.
So they would
Um,
have to look at each five of those universities specifically and look up what courses they offer, correct, at this point?
that would be the thing to do. Go to the universities and you will find on their website the BA degrees and doctoral degrees that are offered through those universities.
So I will share the pitch deck that has those universities in the chat. That way people can look that up.
You'll find, I think, that these universities are offering courses that most universities offer: psychology, history, chemistry, biology, um, all the various courses.
David, there's a question from Anita saying that there are a lot of Christian universities in India, but it needs a lot of PR work to make connections there. How far advanced is VC in that area? That's the kind of thing we want to see happen, where it would be Indian universities, if possible, if they're Christian, if they meet the criteria that we have for them. We would love to see that happen. And we're, as far as how advanced we are, we're not, because that's an Indian thing. Now, I'm sure Vishal must know a lot about it, but as far as we are concerned, I think those of us here on the call today, we don't know anything about it. That's what we want you to help us with, and you tell us how we can help you as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. When it comes to that, um, there would be hopefully be people on the ground there in India who could make the initial contact with potential universities and kind of provide a pathway for a discussion for those universities. At that point, we would be more than happy to join in that conversation, but that usually has to come from people on the ground there in India as they make the initial contact with potential Christian universities.
If you have a question or comment or any contextualized wisdom, feel free to unmute yourself and share with the group, or a question that you put in the chat that has not yet been addressed to your satisfaction.
I have a question, please.
Yes, go ahead.
How do you become an academic mentor?
So the question is about the orientation process, David.
Yes, yes. For a person who is considering becoming an academic mentor, um, that person could contact me, could contact the Virtues Campus. And what we have is about 4 or 5 one-hour sessions. We call them orientation sessions, which orientate a potential academic mentor, everything from A to Z, which goes into overseeing the start and the development and the functioning of an academic of a Virtues Campus. So let us know about your interest, and we will take it with you from there and give you a thorough orientation as to what all is involved in being an academic mentor and starting a Virtues Campus.
Everyone that is interested in learning more about that, please type in the chat AM to identify academic mentor that you would like to participate in a deep dive. Next week, we're considering having a 1 hour deep dive at the same time, same day, to go through all that entails. So there's a lot, there's at least 6 people that identified themselves already, David, that would like to participate in a deep dive next week. 7,
Great.
8 in the chat. So um, yeah, so next week at the same time, we'll go through that, and that won't be the actual orientation, but that will be giving you a teaser of actually what you will be committing to. And then if your group would like to, David would be able to do a group orientation where he takes 10 people from India from different regions all through the orientation process at once. So And everybody, I encourage you, there's links to the Virtues Campus India WhatsApp group and also a survey that we're doing to get involved and start communicating with people about this and how this can be multiplied, how there might be one region in India that pioneers this first, and then the other regions begin to duplicate it and learn based off of that. But there's a lot of communications in the chat, so I really encourage everybody, if you aren't in the WhatsApp chat, please do follow the link and get involved there.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
are there any legal compliances considering the homeschooling college that we are trying to put up right now? Okay, now we are doing the vision casting among the children here. So if at all we get some students and we start virtual class campus in my area, say suppose if I start in my area, so do I have to go through some legal Indian compliances?
Well, that is a good question. I believe is a question that came up last week as well. And again, those who know the India situation better than us can perhaps respond to that. There was a comment about ADF India. The defense, there must be a kind of a defense league in India as well, which would be perhaps very good to consult with to see what kind of legalities, if any, are might come into play with the start of a Virtues Campus. Again, maybe those who know the system in India much better than I can respond to that.
Brother Dave, just to clarify something, to talk about the legal part of it, I just want to ask, from my understanding of what we've been talking, academic pastors only facilitate and provide for, because the course and the certificate is going to be given by the universities to which they are accredited, right? They're going to choose the course and they're going to follow the education system virtually about all that is given in the course materials by these universities to which they are affiliated, correct?
That is correct. That's very well said. Yes.
Yeah. So
So
in
the
that
academic
way,
mentor, yeah, the academic pastor, the academic mentor is a facilitator, a teacher, but the degree comes from the partner university. So that's an entity that is in play in this.
yes. So there is no question of setting up a campus, a school, or any kind of a system where they have to sit and study or facility or a structure, right?
Well,
Yeah, correct. Anything can
the
become a site, essentially, right?
yeah,
Anything can be
yeah.
that has internet access and what it takes to operate, just like we're operating here, essentially. Anybody that is on this Zoom call could potentially set up a Virtues Campus in their living room, garage, so to speak. There, anything. So
Yeah, but each one
Yeah,
will be doing a different course, right? You see, in a campus or a setup like this, it is like maybe 20 students take up one particular subject or one particular course. But when you get into a church model, like, there'll be maybe around 10 of them enroll, they'll take up 10 different courses. So it will be one-on-one, right? They'll have to have the net connectivity where they will do their assignments, they will do their learning. Say, suppose I take up a course and I get affiliated to one of the universities. The same may not be good for my other members of the church who are going to participate. So it's going to be just one-on-one, right? It's more like a distant education that happens.
no,
Well,
it's actually a cohort. It's a group. So go
yeah.
ahead,
Oh,
David.
Let me
can
comment on
I?
that.
Yeah,
There are
clarify.
10. Yeah, there are 10 core courses that are taught at the local church site over the 2-year period. All students in that cohort take those 10 courses. There is no picking and choosing. However, at the same time, simultaneously, they are taking online courses from the partner university, and those courses are different perhaps for each student. So the 10 courses are the same that are taught on the local campus. The online courses are different according to what course they take or what university they partner with.
So there's a core Virtues Campus curriculum that David built out that's a 2 foundational year curriculum. So you guys can have that in English, but also translate that into local language, regional language. And like you'll see in the chat, I posted that for this movement to succeed, and this is what we had to find out sometimes the hard way in the US, was that you need 4 different types of leaders. Is that you need a visionary leader, a strategic leader, a mobilization leader, and an execution leader. So Priya was getting into strategy and into a little bit of execution about the nuts and bolts of how things work out. But yes, they would take every student in a cohort in a Virtues Campus site would take the core 2 year curriculum that David created, and they would take the also additional courses that they may be interested in from the partner university if they plan to do a 4 year degree, come to America, or just strictly take the courses online. Like all this stuff, there's a lot of questions, but there's a lot of options and opportunities that students have in this digital age. So those were things you would have to work out contextually, but like that's what the WhatsApp group's for, is for to continue these discussions that we start here, and figure out exactly how do we want to do that. And so continue the brainstorming after this session ends. So we've been on for an hour. I don't know how much more time David has, but we only plan for going for an hour. But so David, it's up to you how much longer you permit this.
Yeah, if there's perhaps one last question that is burning in somebody's mind, go ahead and ask that. Otherwise, yeah, we want to be conscious of people's time.
Sir, one last question. It may be a very basic question, but it regards regarding the cost of this degree course. Because BA in India is regarded as a course which is the last resort of a student who is not able to come up with any other things. So in this case, the cost which involves in the tuition fees and all these things, it comes to a very huge amount when it is converted to Indian currency. So because around $4,000 per year or per course, it is a huge amount in terms of Indian currency and the mindset of people, because BA course is not much regarded, which is a very good course in India, whether it is obtained from an US university or an Indian university. In the mindset of Indian people who is not able to afford for many other any other good degrees, that is the mindset of Indian people. So in that case, how we are going to reduce the cost of the course so that our students in the virtual campus will be benefited?
I'm not sure I quite caught everything
So
there.
that was a deep contextualization question that the India group would have to go through on their own. So I recommend you bring that question into the India Virtues Campus WhatsApp group and share that, and allow others from the group to begin brainstorming around that and exactly how you will address that problem. Because like we said, our group, we're operating in America, and we're just starting to branch out internationally with interest from India, from Kenya, from Bulgaria. And so we're here to help. But this process, it often takes, especially translating this whole model to another context, especially as a context as complex and a civilization as old and complex as India, is going to take some real strategy sessions. And so you guys are going to have to do those strategy sessions, and we'll be there to help you. And so next week, same day, same time, another hour, but it's going to be a deep dive into the academic mentor. So hopefully we'll have some of our academic mentors, our academic pastors here from the US, that will be able to join in and explain and give testimony of how they're working through this model and have been teaching, and how they recruit cohorts and train cohorts. And the week after that, we would like to do another session on the administration of the church college itself. So be encouraged. We're here to walk and to labor alongside of you to see this happen, to answer as many questions as we possibly can. But like I said again, some of the questions and objections you might have to say, well, I don't know, that works in America and it's not going to work here. That's absolutely 100% correct. It isn't. And so I will be facilitating and working with all of you that are involved to help answer those questions. Join the WhatsApp group, and you will be alerted of all that is to come. So, David, if you would like to say a prayer to close this session.
I'd be happy to. Heavenly Father, you have gathered us together in this second session. We all have a burden for the next generation. You have placed that burden on our hearts. You have called your church, your people, to educate, to disciple the next generation, to disciple our nations. Father, as this model which you have given a vision for Rochelle, as we are trying to implement it here in America, as we're trying to implement it in India, we need desperately your wisdom, your creativity. Help us to form the teams that we need. Pray for a leadership team there in India to be one that can lead this forward in India. Help each of us in our context to think through the questions that will always arise. But Father, you have called us, your church, to educate. And so we want to keep that call firmly in mind and work through the barriers and the hurdles that there might be in order that we might be obedient to your call. And so thank you for this session. We look forward to another session next week as we think more and more and more and pray more and more about how this can be implemented in India. And so we ask that you would lead us forward, and we ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Brother
Amen.
Dave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother Zach. Looking forward for
Thank you all.
next week.
Thank you all.
I have a few questions.
to-
I'll initiate the questions in the